Hello, my name is Stephen. This is part 2 in a video series about my healing experience from chronic Lyme disease. Part 1 was the story of my healing adventure, and this is video 2, how I healed from chronic Lyme disease, with much more detail about what happened. First and most importantly, I am not a doctor. I'm going to talk about how I healed from chronic Lyme disease. Whether my method of healing from chronic Lyme disease would work for you or not, I can't really say. I was sick with Lyme disease for 4 years. My illness was verified by a medical doctor. I had the classical tick bite, the bullseye rash, and the symptoms of Lyme disease, and later the symptoms of chronic Lyme disease. At first, I was given a dosage of doxycycline. That lasted for about 6 weeks. Now, either the dose was too small or I somehow made an error in taking it. I became sick again, and I was put on doxycycline for another 6 weeks. Immediately after the second round of doxycycline, I relapsed back to as ill as I was in the beginning. I spent 2 years trying acupuncture, Reiki, and homeopathy. Each of them offered me some comfort, which helped for a temporary period of time, but none of them addressed the healing I needed to have as far as getting rid of the infection parasite of the Lyme complex. What I'm going to tell you about is what worked for me in the end. In the end, I worked with a doctor who was knowledgeable about this protocol called the Cowden Protocol. That's Cowden. It was developed by a research professor at the University of Texas after his extensive experience in living in Peru. Anyhow, back to what worked for me. According to the doctor's recommendation, in which I followed, I immediately stopped eating anything with sugar, honey, or corn syrup in it. I want to repeat that because it's important. I immediately stopped anything with any kind of sugary substance in it. This meant no sweet desserts, no ice cream, no chocolate. Alcohol contains high amounts of sugar and was also off my list, although I did not drink, so it didn't affect me. From my personal experience, I also found that I could not eat pasta. The doctor verified that as well. I could not drink any kind of fruit juice, and I was limited to the number of pieces of raw fruit that I could eat. And absolutely no caffeine. That means no caffeinated tea, no caffeinated coffee. I even found decaffeinated tea and decaffeinated coffee still had too much caffeine in it. And this is an important part. No caffeine, no sugar. My diet consisted of meat and vegetables. Now, if you haven't hung up on me and are still proceeding forward, it was important that I follow this diet. And I was on this diet for 2 years before I healed from chronic Lyme disease. However, after I was healed, I did go back to eating sugar and having desserts and my lovely chocolate that I miss so much. So to give you a sense of hope, after you heal from Lyme disease, you can go back to eating sugary products. I don't know about alcohol. Sugar is a great food for Lyme. It helps Lyme to flourish. It loves sugary foods. Now, if you take herbs to inhibit the growth and lifespan of the Lyme disease complex and eat sugar to help feed and enhance the Lyme disease, you might as well not bother with the program. It's just not going to work. Now, this is my personal experience. But whenever I relapsed and ate something with sugar in it while I was on the Cowden Protocol, I was dreadfully sick for a week afterwards. The herb shop I bought my herbs from is called Nutramedix. It is located in Florida. That's in the United States. I will leave a link to their website in the video description. The treatment protocol is called the Cowden Protocol. The instructions for taking the herbs are very complex. Nutramedix has a complete site with the instructions. One thing to be cautious about in using these herbs is to be careful not to over-order. Nutramedix sells packages of herbs that seem to cover every and all possible variations on Lyme disease. Because it's a complex disease that varies from person to person, you have to be discerning about what you actually need and not just buy everything that they offer. But you can buy the whole package if you want, but it's very expensive. It is also important to maintain an acute awareness of your own condition, what the herbs do, how they affect you, and tailor the Nutramedix Cowden Protocol to your individual condition. When I first began taking these herbs, the instructions at that time were much more limited, and the herbal selections were also more limited. I did fine with a more limited number of herbs, but if you go this route, you will need to discern what helps you and what does not. Now, the herbs I used, and this was just for me, I used Cumanda, C-U-M-A-N-D-A, Enula, E-N-U-L-A, Pinella, P-I-N-E-L-L-A, Samento, S-A-M-E-N-T-O, and Stevia, S-T-E-V-I-A. What other herbs you can take and what other herbs would help you, you have to use some discernment about that. They have descriptions, and you have to be willing to do a little trial and error research. The herbs are very mild. It is important to follow their instructions as far as taking the herbs so as to slowly ramp up the dosage. If you go at it too aggressively, you can have a healing crisis where the toxins are released too rapidly and you can wind up feeling pretty sick. It is also important to follow their instructions to vary what you take. In order to eliminate the infection and the parasitic condition, you need to alternate what you're using in order to outwit the Lyme disease. After 2 years of using the herbs, I hit a plateau and was stuck. And just by coincidence, I had a mild ear infection at the end of the 2 years, and I took a dose of ordinary penicillin for my ear infection. That seemed, oddly enough, to finish off what was left of the remaining Lyme infection parasite. But a single dose of penicillin at the end of it is not actually part of the Cowden Protocol. It's just what I did. Just to let you know, I have no financial interest in Nutramedix. I benefit not at all from you using their products. And I'm not recommending them because I receive any financial compensation, but just because it worked. I used to speak at Lyme disease support groups, but I gave up on that after some time. Because I'm not a medical doctor, I found that my experience in talking to Lyme disease support groups was discounted. People also became very angry about the talk about banning sugar and banning alcohol, and some people stormed out of the room as I was talking. That was very disturbing and upsetting, and I decided, why bother? If they're going to be resistant and want to continue what they're doing, fine. As a culture, we have come to expect that we won't be asked to make any lifestyle changes to get well, and that we have come to expect that we will get a magical pill that will make everything all right. Unfortunately, Lyme disease does not care about your expectations or my expectations. If drinking and dessert is more important to you than recovering from Lyme disease, then frankly, this approach will not work for you. There's also another aspect of Lyme that needs to be addressed, and that is stress. If you have chronic Lyme, you already know that your energy is easily depleted. Some can only go to work and come home to collapse. I was not that lucky. I was too sick to even work and could barely take care of myself. The strength that I had, my strength was that I had committed to meditate each and every day. This helped me to conserve energy and to de-stress my body. I feel that meditation helped me to cope when I was sick and speeded my recovery once I found a system that worked. I think it also helped me to recover my memory and mental clarity. Since I was a research project of one, I have no proof that meditation helped, but it seemed to. If you have questions, you're free to ask them in the comment section, and I will check back from time to time and reply. A lot of people who suffer from chronic Lyme disease have asked me who my doctor was that gave me the herbs from Peru. Oddly enough, this whole thing is a bit of a mystery. I met him only once. He told me how to buy the herbs and what to eat and what not to eat, and then literally disappeared. I came back and his practice had moved away and was gone. I don't understand what happened. I mention this because a lot of people will not try this herbal approach without getting a doctor's permission. Nutramedix does not require a prescription for the herbs. If you need a doctor to talk to because you feel anxious about this, or you want to ask them questions about Nutramedix, you'll need to find someone that understands the treatment, the Cowden Protocol. If you have questions, you can ask Nutramedix. Perhaps they have a list of doctors that use their product. I know of one doctor in upstate New York that uses the Cowden Protocol, but he charges $1,000 cash only per visit. He does not take insurance. I find these prices very disturbing. I think it's a sad commentary on our culture that doctors feel they can overcharge desperate people just because they can. Thanks for listening to my story, and thanks for following up with the second video. If you have chronic Lyme, I want you to know that it is possible to fully heal. No matter what the internet says, no matter what your doctor says, no matter what other Lyme support people say, don't believe that you're stuck with this forever. But to fully heal, you have to take responsibility for your own healing and not be overly dependent on other people's opinions and experts to solve this problem for you. I'm not an expert. This is just my personal story. You can do what you want with the information. I feel that one day medical science will eventually catch up and will eventually come to understand Lyme and find ways to treat it. But until then, I feel that you have to be very creative and also very self-aware. Good luck on your healing journey.